All right, lastly in our discussion of AlphaGo Zero Josekis, Josekis that are preferred by the ultimate version of AlphaGo, we have these four Josekis which are more commonly known and experimented on by humans. So, let's take a look at them. Most of these Josekis are going to be stemming from a 3-4 point, which if you are going to be watching our next series, Joseki with Dummies, we're going to start with all the 4-4 point Josekis, so we don't have those ready yet. We'll be getting those later. But for now, since these are kind of the bread and butter of AlphaGo Zero, we wanted to cover them. AlphaGo Zero, as you know, has 8 Joseki that it uses over and over and over again that have stabilized within the program. So these are the more common, understandable ones. So we start with actually let's do this one first. The one space approach to the 3-4 stone.
Okay. So this is the response to attachment elite. Ready? Right?
Yes. Obviously this is taking the corner and putting pressure on black stone. Black follows up with the standard Hane.
Right. And then white comes back so it doesn't get cut off.
This is a little different. Not actually, no, it's not. But most Go professionals say that this is a little bit better because you can get wider extension from this point. But AlphaGo always plays the solid connection.
Right, and then white comes out with a one space extension along the side, and this helps sort of stabilize his shape and keep him from getting sealed in.
Right. And interestingly, AlphaGo Zero does not play the famous AlphaGo Lee or AlphaGo Master Joseki, which is to peep here first. It does the more common human Joseki, which is to make the ideal extension. And another thing that bears noting on this Joseki is this was a Joseki that was made popular by Go Seigen back at the turn of the century. Many people have said that the AlphaGo games, they remind them of Go Seigen's games. So if you want to study the human that most closely resembles AlphaGo, take a look at some of those old games.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on to the next one. All right, the next Joseki that AlphaGo Zero likes to use is the low approach instead of the high, the low approach. And here we find something. The response from white seems kind of like a Q move.
Mm-hmm. Right. So white here will just kick. Keeps the corner.
Keeps the corner.
Right, but kind of attaches to a weak stone.
Attaches to a weak stone. We're told not to do that. AlphaGo says, go for it. Okay. So AlphaGo stands up, as you would expect. When you are attached to, you want to strengthen the stone that's been attached to. So he does that in the most direct way.
Right, and so again we see this jump out, this one space extension along the side that the same thing stabilizes the shape and helps to keep white from getting sealed in.
And now here, instead of just making the ideal extension, first black takes a forcing move. So this move is a peep.
Right. And so generally good to connect against a peep, and specifically here, if you don't and black cuts through,
there's too many cutting points.
It ends up creating too many cutting points for white, so it's just a problem that you don't need to have. So white just goes ahead and simply connects against it.
And then black makes the ideal extension. This is something that people familiar with AlphaGo will recognize. Making this move first means that when white pushes up there's less aji here for black. Like if this wasn't here, then white could possibly go here or cap like this. But with black's stone here, there's more flexibility. There's more power in black's shape. So which is the theory on why black is okay with making that exchange, giving white more solid territory in exchange for this stone.
Right.
Very rarely, very occasionally, AlphaGo will want to, or AlphaGo will find itself in a position where it has a stone on the 5-3. Typically, the AlphaGo Zero openings start with all 4 points. But on occasion, it likes to mix it up. So this one's very standard. When someone plays on the 5-4 point, the most logical invasion point is the 4-3.
Right. And so now the response to this will be to play sort of a shoulder hit there like that, and this it sort of keeps black low. It's close enough to work well with the other white stone there.
Yeah. This is actually
not too slow.
This is actually a good move if this in like maybe a split game, something like that. Because then you're building up some influence on a side that's facing your stone. So if you have potential, white's looking to build potential here. So this would be a good move. Keeping your opponent low. And now black needs to do this because he just wouldn't have enough ice space if white gets this move.
Right. And so, but now black's pushing from behind, so white's okay with crawling a little bit, or coming out a little bit.
Doesn't want to play the Hane because these stones aren't strong enough to
justify that. Yeah.
Or a cut. So plays there, and then black makes a 1-space jump, and that brings the Joseki to a conclusion. You can see that black is pretty much alive in the corner. There's some potential follow-ups later in the game.
But these are light enough and flexible enough. There's no big problems there, and same with white.
And white gets nice influence on the side.
Right.
The final Joseki that AlphaGo Zero occasionally plays is the bane of many a Go player. Another invention or discovery by Joseki, one of the best, sometimes considered the best human Go player ever, and that is the small avalanche. So we'll discuss that.
So
starts off like a normal attach.
Right, a normal attach underneath.
But instead of making the Hane, black descends.
Right.
If you don't do that, you get cut off.
And
at this point, black will play here.
And then the weird thing is because normally white would just fix this somehow. Because
AlphaGo doesn't do that.
Right, and this is small avalanche too. This is where you go into avalanche. Is
right.
This coming around this side?
Yeah, effectively saying that we don't care if you play this. Again, we see that principle of, like what you were saying earlier in the series. If
you threaten to do something and they let you do it, do it. So
we notice that like black doesn't freak out here. Instead, he goes ahead and makes the cut.
Right. So this is where the avalanche gets, this is why it's complicated, because even though you're letting that go ahead and do this. This is still Sente, because if black doesn't respond, he gets laddered, and then white gets a huge corner that's connected out.
Right. And so
and a thing with a cut. So
if white plays this move, you see that he gets everything that he wants. So therefore, black needs to play the descent.
Yeah, and black has to play this way because it gives him more liberties than if he were to go that way.
Right.
Okay.
Before we move on, let's explain that real fast, because we're Qs. We're talking to Qs probably. Hello, Qs. Hello, Qs. We are notice that this doesn't give as many liberties as this, because this stone has 1, 2, 3, and now 4 liberties. This group only has 1, 2, 3 liberties.
Right.
So by playing tight like this, you're not giving yourself as many liberties as you could. And once white plays this, and you have to worry about this cut now, these stones will die.
Right. So black has to go this way. So once black has to go this way, then I think white has to. Now there's still a liberty problem, so white still has to come this way.
Black can't ignore this,
and he can't just hane.
And he can't hane because too many problems.
Right there or there, followed by there. Right.
But black does have an option here. If black has the ladder, as you can see here, it is possible to play this move. In which case, stuff will happen.
Because then this cut doesn't work. Right.
However, we're going to show the variation, which is if that was the case, if this was the case, the least favorable variation black needs to play here. This is the safest variation for black.
Now, white does something that also takes a little bit of reading here. White attaches. What happens is now if black doesn't do something, white can Atari.
Yeah, play down.
And then...
So if black ignores this...
Then white can do this.
Black will take.
White will now put that in Atari. And this is a squeeze play. Right? And so black's dead. Okay. So, because of that... So, and that's all made possible by this white stone here. So that's why this white stone out here...
I love that. When I first learned that was like, Go is so cool.
Yeah.
That this move can mean so much.
Sure. So it's a 1, so you got to read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 to 8
Fair
moves
enough.
in advance before it becomes obvious. But
this move is forcing, so therefore this move is the correct response, because now even if white plays this and gets the forcing move, he can't hane around the top and do the squeeze down towards the side.
Right, and he notices that's the most efficient way to do that, because it's also now helping him get out this way.
Yeah, it's not as good as this, because this still allows for something along these lines, which makes it very cramped.
It's better than that.
Yeah, it's better.
Right.
Better.
Right. Okay, and then from there, I'm trying to remember this. So now that doesn't work. So,
The most kind of vulgar way to threaten this. You see that this is Atari, so black connects.
And
So white plays down there.
I think...
Nope, one more left. Yep, right there. This is an odd-looking move too, but
it's like a belly attachment, sort of.
Yeah, but it's taking away a liberty from this black group and helping this white group have more space, because if black pushes through, then white can connect them.
And now 1, 2, 3 liberties to 4.
Right. However, because white spent the move here and didn't protect this cut, black goes ahead and makes that cut.
And so now what does white do?
Yeah.
White has to get out.
Yeah, white has to get out, so black then plays here.
I don't think we went this...
No, we did. We did. You play here. Yep. And this kind of ends the Joseki a little bit.
There are a lot of branches.
There's
a reason why it's so difficult. It's not because this is not the only line.
It's not easy. However, ultimately, what's going to happen here is, even if black tries to capture this group, there's going to be too many liberties, and white will eventually be able to come back and take this black group.
Right.
So with this move,
white's
taken the corner.
But
you don't need to be afraid of this move here,
because you just connect, and you've got 3.
You've got 3 to 2. So even if something like this happens, you see that white can play there, and there's no way for black to live.
Right.
So because of that, you don't need to be worried about that so much. These stones look dead, and maybe they are dead.
Right.
But the nice thing about them is that white gets the corner, and white gets the corner, and white has opportunity to play moves like this. That maybe none of that's going to live later on. Depends on how the game progresses.
Right.
It's a very complicated Joseki that we recommend researching on your own, learning the variations. And, we don't normally...
This is sort of probably the most straightforward version of the smallest of the avalanches.
Right. It's the one that AlphaGo plays. It's also the one that has a lot of branches to it, and you'll want to study those on your own. However, there you have it. Those are the 8 Joseki that AlphaGo Zero has formally adopted into its algorithm. So we don't normally recommend memorizing Joseki, but if you were going to memorize 8 of them and study them, these would be probably the 8 to do so with, because hey, nobody can beat AlphaGo. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed that. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and keep an eye out for the upcoming Joseki with Dummies, where we talk about all the branches that we can potentially come up with in our limited knowledge.
Right.